All right, hallelujah. I hope that you have enjoyed the first part of this radio interview by George and Miss Nan of the New America Now. As we begin to go on in this interview, we start to give a lot of answers. We start to give a lot of direction. A lot of questions are asked to me about what we should be doing to prepare. What is some of my advice and opinions, some of my own personal experiences, and what to expect and what's coming up in these times. So here's part 2 of the 4-part series that I broke down actually of this particular broadcast. And I put it up there and because I know that some of you out there really enjoy being able to hear sound information, sound advice by people who's not talking about what you need to do, but the people who are actually doers of the word. So I hope that you enjoy part 2 of this particular radio interview with New America Now by way of the Watchman FM.
All right, well, we are back, and we've got with us today our special guest, Pastor Dowell, who can be found on YouTube as youtube.com/Pastor Dowell, Dowell, and at straightway.com, is it, Pastor?
Straightwaytruth.com, STRAITWAY, TRUTH.
Very good. Straightwaytruth.com. He's got a very nice site there, and he's got is it called a Straightway Assembly?
Yeah, you could call it Straightway, but we call it the Israelite of Straightway.
Very good, very good. Check out his site, and I definitely recommend the folks out there subscribe to this man because he's a powerful voice. And a righteous man. And the missus, I think, has a question for you, Pastor. What have you got for the pastor here?
Right. Well, for other people who may have the same idea as you, how would they go about finding property, or what should they look for in a property like yours? How would they get started in building a community for people with the same agenda as themselves?
Well, that's the idea right there. The first thing, number one, you have to find people of like mind. The way we started is that we were in our living room, my wife and I, and then the Most High just started adding people to us, and so we have pretty much have grown from there. And I hardly have anybody that actually lives here on this community that's actually from the state of Tennessee where I reside, which is remarkable in itself. But the first thing you want to look for whenever you find some land or you're looking for land, you want to get out. And I've always taught people to get anywhere from 60 to 100 miles outside of any major city. And my thinking for that is because when civil unrest take place, all you have to do is just cut on this YouTube or go on TV and see what takes place when civil unrest busts loose in any city. So the reason why you want to be out is because it's going to take some time for people to get out there. You want to be as secluded as possible, and it's not that you're hiding from anybody. You're not. It's just that you want to live a quiet and peaceful life. When you're looking for land, you want to make sure that you have access to water, whether you have a well or a spring or maybe even a little small river that runs adjacent to the land. You got to have water because if you're going to have livestock or cattle, you're going to grow and raise your own food. Water is one of the greatest resources. And without it, the land is barren and it means nothing. So it takes people to get into one mind. It takes people to have one goal. I mean, for instance, everybody here has their own dwelling place. Everybody here has their own little home. Everybody does. But we had some sacrifice in the beginning. We stacked up 2 and 3 families at one time in one house. But when we first started, but that was the sacrifice that we made in order to get to the place where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pastor, you're transmitting this on a small FM frequency that reaches out into your community just a little bit, so that your assembly, your congregation, can listen to this. And So he is doing that right now and spreading that word. And I know there's a lot of interested people listening to you, both in your community and across the country. And we even have people from Australia and Europe, listening to the show here. So, what is, there's a certain mindset though that you have to go with this type of thing, because people are preparing in different ways. But some people are preparing and saying, well, this is going to be something transient. The government has the answers, and there's very smart people at the Federal Reserve and in Washington, and they'll figure it out. And so maybe I'll just have 3 days worth of food, and that should be enough. What do you say to people like that?
Well, I actually call them pessimistic, because they're actually believing in a fairy tale. And as the old saying goes, if you're expecting this American dream, or these people who have sold you this bill of goods, and you believe that stuff, no wonder you're asleep. No wonder you're not proactive and not doing anything, because you're depending upon somebody else to do it for you. And that has never worked. And we don't live by that out here. You see, that's the reason why it's very important for people to network. That's the reason why people need to come together on the Sabbath weekly to get strengthened spiritually as well as naturally. And whether we like it or not, history has proven out over time that anytime you have a fiat currency system, that money system is going to fail. It's not a matter of if it's going to fail. It's a matter of when. And when you have the only answers that we have here in the United States of America for everything that we have going on is to print more money, devalue the money, devalue the money, devalue money. And what I'm talking about here today is real change. I'm talking about real change. And that real change starts with a real change of mind. You have to change your mind, because you cannot do the things that you've always done and expect change. Because you continue to do it, you're going to be in the same place that you are now. And you're going to be in a soup line pretty soon with that kind of thought and that kind of attitude, because you didn't wake up and see, and neither were you a student of history to see what took place when people depended upon somebody else to take care of them, when God himself is giving you 2 hands and a mind and 2 feet to be able to make a life and do it for you and preserve yourself as well as your family. So it takes a change of mind. You must change your mind. And if you don't, I tell you what I do. I tell people just stick around, because, a lot of times you can talk to people till you're blue in the face, and that don't mean they're going to change. But, hey, y'all just shake the dust off my feet, and I'll go to the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there are a lot of people that are going to continue to lose their jobs. You have teachers getting laid off or given pink slips all across this land. States are insolvent. Counties and cities are bankrupt. And they've made promises to all of these folks that have government jobs that they will have pensions, and they will have this and they will have that. And they're finding that the promises that were made are probably as valueless as the fiat currency is going to be very soon.
Well, see, that's why I continue over and over and over again to stress being a student of history. Because if anybody knows anything about the history of this country, we all know that they break every promise, every treaty that they've ever done. Let me give you an example. In 1933, which was the time during the Great Depression and stuff, okay, a lot of people are not familiar with the truth of what happens in this country. And I'm going to show you the type of character that our particular country has. When I say country, I'm talking about the politicians or the movers and shakers, those who are in the outhouse, which some people call the White House, those who are so-called running this country. You see, they what they did is, because they were so insolvent, their money supply was worthless. It wasn't worth anything. So what they did, they started going around and confiscating all the gold of the people. Now, this is our American government, who we say that we elected and put into office, but we have never elected anybody. Every single one of them was selected. That's the reason why I teach self-preservation. That's why I teach that people have independent thinking, start exercising independent thinking, having self-autonomy, and start thinking, because you have to change your mind. These people said that they were never going to confiscate the gold. See, at that time, gold was the money or the way that the dollar was backed up. So they turned around and they told the Americans, you turn in your gold. And if you don't turn in your gold, you're going to have a 10-year prison sentence chalked onto you. And if we turn around and find out that you didn't turn in your gold, we're going to chalk another 10 years up on top of that. That's the type of policies that this country makes. So what they did was they went around, they confiscated all the gold, and they gave the people $25 for an ounce of gold. And then they put it inside their banking system, and they turned around and they jumped the value of that gold at $35 an ounce, which if you was going to go back and you was going to try to preserve yourself as far as your wealth goes, you have already you already have to pay 46% more because that's the way that they operate. So you cannot believe in this country to keep its word. They have never kept their word. They have broken every treaty. You can ask the American Indians that. They have broken every contract. You can ask the Iraqis that because you can't ask Saddam Hussein because he's dead. But you cannot depend on this system nor these people who are up there, and once they get up there, they have a total different mindset. And they're getting paid off by the movers and shakers. You can't depend on them. You have to take responsibility for yourself. That's why I teach people to buy silver right now. And the reason why I teach them to buy silver, because it's the best hedge against and the best way to hedge yourself and protect yourself against this upcoming economic collapse. Because right now, people in our country think that these Federal Reserve notes and these greenbacks that they have in a wallet is actually sound money. That is called currency. Real money has been tangible assets, gold and silver, which has always been sound money because it's God's money from the beginning of time. So if these people are going to trust in this system to fix everything for it, you need to go back. Every single person does, and actually do an evaluation and become very schooled in history and find out the way things are really truly going to happen, because these people cannot be trusted one bit.
Oh, absolutely. They can't, because it's like, as you said, they have a track record. And ask the American Indian, if they keep their promises. They don't. And for the people who think that government can solve all their problems, when you have corruption in the midst of all of that, it's impossible. Even if you try to elect good people to offices, it's corrupt to the bone.
Well, they actually have a thing where they kill people. They kill people. See, people have, this Tea Party. The Tea Party, it started off what you would call, it started with Ron Paul, and then the Republicans hijacked the whole idea, and now they're out front talking about this Tea Party thing. Okay, so then this next election, they're getting sick and tired of the Democratic rule, and the truth is there's no difference between the Democrats, Republicans, or independents. They're all rats. There's no difference between any of them. So there's a guys that they are selling the people again because they have to keep the people comfortable. They have to keep the people docile so that there's no chance of revolution or people getting any ideas in their mind of an uprising in order to make change. So what they do is they have these tea parties. These Tea Party people, they tell the people, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to change this, we're going to change, we're not going to do this. But then when they get up in that White House, and then they meet the gangsters up there, and they understand that these people got a track record of killing people and their families. They quickly succumb to the pressure, and they line their pockets with millions of dollars. And a good example is, I think I just heard the echoes of them renewing the Patriot Act, and the Tea Party people voted for it. That's what I'm talking about right there. See, people got to open up their eyes and see it for what it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for as much as we don't want the Patriot Act, and as much as it infringes upon every right that we have as a human being, they still, it's for your own good. It's for your protection. And they try to talk people into it, and everybody's scared. Everybody's running scared. Oh, the terrorists, the Arabs, the Muslims. Everybody is so scared, but the government has them that way.
Well, that's how you control a population. You control them through fear. And this fear-mongering has worked. I mean, fear sells. Fear sells a big time, especially when the people have no answers. I'll give you an example. You look at you remember the movie Braveheart. That movie Braveheart, one of the old character movies. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
But now that movie in itself, it is power packed in what people will eventually have to do whenever it comes to the opportunity that your own home may be raped, robbed, murdered, and raided by outside villains, whoever it may be. And see, we don't like to look at stuff like that nowadays, and we don't want to ever think that that's come here to this country, but there's been many bloodshed in this country. And what I'm getting to is this. You see, the character in Braveheart, William Wallace, all he wanted to do was mind his own business. All he wanted to do was be a farmer. All he wanted to do was raise a family, and that's it. But King George didn't want him to do that. He wanted him to do that as long as he obeyed his laws, as long as he paid his taxes. And so William Wallace had an idea. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just go to the king and we'll make petitions. I'm going to tell the people right now, there's no talking to these people. You ain't going to talk. You cannot reason with a devil. You can't do it. You think you're going up there with your good heart, and they are all the while getting themselves together and thinking and plotting how they're going to kill you. And that's what's taking place. See, we've been killed spiritually. We've been killed naturally. And not only that, we are such a docile and demoralized people right now that I have actually grim thoughts. I mean, really, truly grim thoughts to actually think that anybody, that even a man now today would even stand up and protect his family if somebody actually came and made a run on him and tried to hurt him.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's, bad things, in my mind, and I know the missus, have talked about this many a times, is that, we're so arrogant. Not only here, but in Europe and with this whole Western society and this first world business, we're so arrogant that, sometimes these things I think have to happen in order to make you realize, you need to be a little less arrogant and find out, what the real is.
Well, again, I'll go back to real change again. For instance, if you had a little small group of people, and let's say you had a small group of 20 or 30 people, and let's say that the people put their money, they put their resources together, and then they bought 20, 30 acres of land. And just like I had talked about earlier, they start off maybe small, maybe put a trailer or two out there, and do things, work together to help each other. Homeschool your children, so that way your children don't go to school and get an American brainwashing, but they're actually taught the morals, principles, and values that their mother and father wants to be taught, that want to teach them. And if you do that and you spread out the homes over the land and stuff, you can actually have what everybody has been wanting and what people want here in America all along. But in order to get to that point, people have got to change their minds. You see, because we look out and we see these fine cars and these fine homes, our lust begins to go after these things. And when our lust begins to go after these things, we start thinking crazy. We don't even function right. We act wrong. And so now we have been duped and deceived to thinking that you literally have to have a physical job in order to support the system, in order to survive. Now, I wonder, what in the world did this world do before the Industrial Revolution? What happened? How were people living all these many centuries before what we would call modern-day civilization? That's what I'm trying to wake people up to. Now, we don't live like no Amish, and we don't live like any Mennonites. Otherwise, I couldn't be talking to you on this telephone. But at the same time, if people can just grasp what I'm saying, and many times some people got to see it. But, whether they like it or not, the people in this country are going to be forced to change whether they like it or not. Because for instance, there's going to be a lot of job losses this year. And with the gas already at $3.19 a gallon, if gas ever goes to $5 to $6, $7 a gallon in this country, it's going to literally break the backs of Americans because they have lost more purchasing power through more high taxation without representation because the people are not representing them, and they're going to be forced to spend the majority of their money just to get back and forth, still feeding the system, and they're going to spend the money on high food prices because they refuse to live simple, to grow their own food, to get their own garden. So they're going to be forced, whether people like it or not. It is coming. And I understand that my voice is one of those of what people would automatically translate as fear-mongering because I'm being brutally honest because I can see the handwriting on the wall and what's taking place. I bought silver. I bought silver years ago that I have in my safe in here that I purchased it for $8 an ounce. Now today's silver closed out this past week. 1 ounce of silver closed out at $33.15 an ounce. Now, while they have deceived us into believing that metals is not money and that the dollar bill or the Federal Reserve note is money, we have all these money, all these greenbacks in our pocket, and yet and still we cannot purchase the same thing we could 10 years ago with the same amount of denomination that is written on the dollar, but yet and still these metals are going up. Yeah, it's going to reset. The system is going to reset back to sound money again. So that's why I keep preaching real change. Change your mind, because if you don't change your mind, you're not going to change your attitude, you're not going to change your heart, and you're definitely not going to change your footstep and your footprint from what you're doing right now in order to become an independent. That's what I preach and I teach, and I can only hope that people have the ears to hear it.
Oh yeah, and so what happens now? We're not that far away from, all of this breaking loose, the poop hitting the proverbial fan blade. As the turmoil really unravels in the Middle East, and we're seeing gas prices at over $3.50 now, almost $4 a gallon. I had a friend of mine pass a gas station Friday, and it went up 20 cents in 2 hours from when he passed that gas station. So, and he noticed it and he told me about it because we have these conversations from time to time. And he says, when things hit $5 a gallon, as you said, they are going to really get crazy. And, we're going to see that translated into food costs. We're going to see that translated into the cost of everything, because everything obviously has to come in and get trucked in, because our society is so fragile. People don't realize how fragile the society is and how quickly everything becomes unglued as a result of these types of things. So, how bad is it going to get, Pastor? You've mentioned that you're going to see people pull a gun on you to take what you have. What's your take on everything?
Well, what's going to happen is, because, a lot of people in this country, especially in this country. See, I've been to third world countries to where I saw people live in what you call some conditions that is unimaginable here in this country. And you are right when you said we become so arrogant and we have become so prideful, you and your lovely wife there. I mean, it is just amazing the type of attitude that we have had and we've developed in this mind right here. If we really do think that the human spirit or humanity in itself will not turn to a beast nature or a beast spirit or to survival mode when there's no longer any food and water that they can get their hands on, we got another thing coming. Civil unrest. These cities are going to be turned upside down because, why? They have put everybody in the city. People are going to try to take anything of value that they can get their hands on. And it's going to be bad. I mean, it's going to be so bad because, see, what would happen in a town, just to paint a picture, if the trucks stopped running to the stores tomorrow? What if they could not bring trucks into these stores to fill up these shelves tomorrow for 2 weeks? What would happen in that town alone? And if it's spread out for over 100 miles? You see, that's the way we need to be thinking, because every time you see the gas jump up 20 cents, that's letting you know that the dollar's losing value. Every time that you see your food prices, because they have already started making moves on us to try to deceive the people that we're not experiencing inflation. You used to be able to buy a half a gallon of ice cream. It's not even a half a gallon now. You go in there and buy a bag of chips, it's mostly air instead of chips. Everything is being reduced because you're still paying the same price for goods and services that you did years ago, but you're not getting the same amount of product. And so they're already working on the psyche and the minds of the people to deceive them. But when people no longer have any food, they all revert to savages. And so what I teach people is you're going to have people that's not going to have any morals or any values. There's not going to be enough law enforcement around to protect you and your family. As a matter of fact, they don't even have a right to protect you and your family. They protect the interests of the state. It's up to you to know what self-preservation is. And
Right.
when you have 360 million people revolting, and you only have, if at most, 1 million cops, just in the United States of America, or maybe 2 million or 5 million, them is some extraordinary numbers. So people are going to have to learn. They're going to take a crash course in self-preservation and survival, because these people will come out and they will take your home. These people who have no morals, no standards, and no values, and that are duped in chaotic ignorance, they will rape your wife, your child, and your children. They will turn around and steal everything you got. They will rob you. They will sell you down the tube, and then they will turn around themselves and beat you, if not so much as kill you, for what you have. Now, I know a lot of people don't like hearing this kind of talk. And the reason why they don't like hearing this kind of talk, because they don't ever think that it's going to happen right here in this land. But I'm telling you that it's already starting right here in this land. It's happening right now. So people are going to have to, don't depend upon the righteous nature of an immoral society to actually think that we all are going to be moral. When our neighbor is starving and our family's not starving, then these person over here have no convictions whatsoever at all. They don't fear the Most High, and they don't keep no commandments, and they don't stand for nothing, but they fall for everything. They will kill you, and they will take what you have. So you're going to have to protect yourself spiritually, number one, first, and then naturally, number two.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are here with Pastor Dowell, and we'll be, again, taking a little break. We'll be back after these messages.